This season is against Daniel Cormier. What a stuffy, Cormier really is. I think if you really get to know Daniel Cormier, he's really not. He's an asshole. He was an asshole. I mean, he didn't really connect with any of the fighters here.
Got a feeling I'm going to knock him out, to be honest. I don't know what it is. I've just got a sneaky suspicion I'm going to knock him out. I'm saying, like, Justin Gage, he's older than that lad. He's 2 years older than Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's like 2 years younger than him.
That's true.
Dan Hooker couldn't grapple a fucking rapist off his ma.
So Paddy Pimblett is absolutely tearing into Arman Tadrokian right now, and trust me when I say he's holding nothing back. He's completely calling him out for his actions, destroying him with every word, and on top of that, he's dropping this massive prediction that he's going to finish Justin Gaethje when they finally get in there together. This goes way beyond your typical fight promotion trash talk. This is Paddy drawing a line in the sand and telling everyone exactly what he believes will happen when the cage door closes.
So this is the first fight of the Paramount Plus era. So what can fans expect? What are you excited for?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great card. Like you said, the main event is fun and title implications, and everybody wants the winner of this fight to fight Ilia Topuria. See how that plays out throughout the year, and then the Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes fight is the greatest women's fight of all time.
Dana White also confirms.
But get this, Paddy isn't flying solo in roast mode this week because Jon Jones decided to jump into the mix too. He went straight after Daniel Cormier during a recent interview and brought their epic rivalry bubbling back to the surface all over again. That beef between these two just never dies down, does it? But hold up, before we get lost in all this back and forth drama, let's kick things off with some huge news straight from Dana White, because he just revealed some crucial information about where the lightweight division is heading next.
I obviously am not one of these fans, but some fans thought Arman should have been the one to get a 155 title pound shot.
We knew that would happen too.
Of course. Did the headbutt play any factor in the decision to
100%,
not go with him? It did, right?
A lot of things have factored in, you know. Yeah.
Dana White is making it clear that whoever comes out on top in the upcoming Gaethje versus Pimblett showdown is widely expected to get next dibs on Ilia Topuria for the belt. And honestly, that tracks perfectly when you look at where both these fighters sit in the rankings. But here's what's interesting, he's not completely locking that in stone either. He's keeping some wiggle room in there, hinting that the actual championship picture will develop throughout the year based on how everything unfolds, which tells us there's still some moving parts in this whole equation.
He is. So what about this fucking Arman fella, dude? What are we saying, this posh cunt?
Fuck him. Simple as, lad. I'm getting sick of getting asked about him and people talking about him. Oh, he should be in this interim title fight. He shouldn't fucking headbutt people at weigh-ins then, should he, lad? And punch fans in us when he's walking out, lad, and pull out a title fight the night before. So as far as I'm concerned, lad, he can eat shit, lad, and fucking, as Dana said, he can get back to the drawing board.
Nice. Get that one out of the way early on Arman Tsarukyan. He could have been in the mix for this fight, but I just feel like there's a lot of ulterior factors that people aren't considering other than just his recent win over Dan Hooker. I know he's a top contender, but there's a whole lot that he's done wrong before, and this is the big Paramount debut.
And lad, people are saying, like, Justin Gage, he's older than that, lad. He's 2 years older than Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's like 2 years younger than him.
That's true.
Dan Hooker couldn't grapple a fucking rapist off his ma.
Dana White dropped some serious knowledge about Arman Tadrokian, and this should be required listening for every fighter who thinks what they do outside fight night doesn't impact their career. He comes right out and says that Tadrokian's behavior at those weigh-ins, specifically that insane moment when he head-butted Dan Hooker, created real legitimate consequences for where his career went next. This wasn't some slap on the wrist fine that everyone forgets about in 2 weeks. Dana makes it crystal clear that the whole incident played a major role in why Tadrokian didn't get that UFC title shot when he probably assumed he was first in line.
I think I finish him wherever the fight goes, to be honest. Obviously, I know we can bang, but every fight we get a breakdown made of our opponent, and it actually shocks me how much he gets hit. And I know he takes one to give one, but you can't really just do that at this level. That's why he's lost to people like Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier, Charles, because you can't just take one to give one, and I'm not going to just be standing there to let him hit me back, you know what I mean? So be using me range, keeping him on the outside, and I've got a feeling I'm going to knock him out, to be honest. I don't know what it is. I've just got a sneaky suspicion I'm going to knock him out. You know, I've been doing a lot of rounds with Luke Riley for this camp, and Luke's got much better technical striking than Justin Gaethje. And I'm having a lot of success sparring with Luke, and obviously one of my coaches, Ellis, who used to fight himself, he's the exact same build as Justin. He's 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. And I've been doing rounds with him. He's literally, because he doesn't fight anymore, lad, and he's just a coach, he's just done Justin's style for me. He hasn't got his own style. He's been doing Justin for me, and just the bits what we're working, I can see me knocking him out or dropping him and then submitting him. People are going on about his takedown defense, but if I want to take him down, I will take him down, lad. Simple as.
Just think about that reality for a moment. You could be among the most elite fighters on the planet. You could have a flawless record, but if you step out of line and cross certain boundaries, it can literally cost you the biggest moment of your entire career. It's this harsh reminder that what you do outside the octagon carries just as much weight as your performance when the lights are on. Dana doesn't hesitate to make those brutal decisions when someone goes too far.
Oh man, more skilled, more experienced, I think better fighter all around, Justin Gaethje. But I also have been on record and said that Paddy Pimblett is better than a lot of people think he is. You know, because of his, his haircut and the way he talks and some of the, the strength of schedule. People don't give him a lot of credit, but when I fought him in April in Miami, I'm not going to say that I was surprised, because I was expecting the best version of Paddy, but he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. He's got long reach, good kicks, pretty darn patient and composed in there. But Gaethje's a whole different animal. So if I had to bet, which I can't, but if I had to lean one direction, I'd go Justin Gaethje, interim champion, and then he beats Ilia Topuria later on this year.
Paddy Pimblett went absolutely nuclear when Arman Tazarkian's name came up, and you could see he had zero patience for playing nice about the whole situation. He launched straight into him, completely blasting Tazarkian for his weigh-in antics, and destroying him for his habit of pulling out of fights at the last second. Paddy wasn't just throwing casual shade around either, he was building a case, and that case was rock solid clear.
Esperamos ahorita el 20-0 que se viene, ojalá sea la oportunidad por el cinturón, que ya estamos en ese tema metidos. No se sabe si peleamos en junio o un poquito antes, dependiendo del rival, pero ya estamos como que avanzando en el tema de pelear ya.
Vi que mencionaste por ahí en alguna entrevista a Jack de la Madalena. ¿Es algo que tú quieres, que te gustaría, o ya es algo que el UFC por ahí te comentó?
Me comentaron una posible pelea contra él marzo o abril, pero luego salieron con lo de que también querían que yo peleara en enero, pero en enero pues yo no quería pelear tampoco. Simplemente le dije que quería las vacaciones, descansar bien, y muy aparte pues creo que también le habían propuesto a Makhachev la pelea en enero y tampoco quiso aceptar. Estábamos de acuerdo en eso, en que en enero nadie quería pelear, pero ahora en junio, julio a lo mejor y sí, y si me dan la pelea contra Magdalena mejor, una pelea más de experiencia, y si es con Makhachev también la voy a aceptar, no tengo problema.
From where Paddy sits, Zarukian's actions, the headbutt incident, the fight with BRAWL, all of it completely eliminated any right he had to demand title shots or act like he deserved special consideration. Paddy painted it like Zarukian had this golden opportunity to build real momentum and establish credibility, but instead he made decision after decision that damaged his own position. When Paddy goes off like this, he's not just defending his own interests, he's presenting himself as the fighter who actually shows up, performs when scheduled, and doesn't create unnecessary chaos. It sends this unmistakable message to everyone. The UFC brass, the fans, and Zarukian himself that respect in this game has to be earned through consistent professional behavior, and in Paddy's mind, Zarukian failed that test completely.
Last time we spoke to you, you mentioned about Islam Makhachev and the GOAT list in terms of GOAT list, you know. Mm-hmm. After that, he dominantly scored a victory over Jake Della Maddalena. Mm-hmm. So after that one, where do you put him in the GOAT list?
I think Islam is definitely one of the greatest fighters of all time. He's one of the guys for sure.
Mm-hmm. Were you surprised that he dominated him?
No, I'm not surprised that he's dominating competition. He's a special athlete. I mean, some guys are just chosen to do great things, and I think he's one of those guys. I'm excited to watch the rest of his career. I think he has a lot of work to do. But he's on the right path, and he's just doing everything right. Yeah, he's one of the guys in the sports I respect very much.
Paddy Pimblett radiates total unwavering confidence when discussing a potential matchup with Justin Gaethje, and he's making it perfectly clear that he doesn't envision this fight lasting anywhere near 5 full rounds. He's not planning some grinding decision victory or playing it cautious for 25 minutes. He's talking about ending this thing definitively and decisively.
Considering your relationship with Islam and you met him as a kid, he barely, spoke any English. He was just a kid with this dream. What was it like for you to see him with the front row seat, to see him achieve that goal?
It's so satisfying. Anytime, we all give each other shit about stuff like that. We make jokes, but all I want is for him to be better than I ever was. All those guys, every one of those guys that we trained together, like when Luke would fight, I wanted him to do better than me. When Kane would fight, when Habib would fight, all you want is for your brothers to do better than you. You don't want to. I want every record I ever held in AKA to belong to someone else by the time I'm done and gone. Because then that would mean that our gym, the gym that gave us all so much, still is producing champions. And champions at a rate that, when we were in our heyday, made us the best gym in the world.
Paddy acknowledges that Gaethje brings serious danger, no doubt about it. The man hits like a freight train and carries knockout power that can shut your lights out in the blink of an eye. But here's where Paddy identifies his opening. He also sees Gaethje as someone who gets hit, takes damage in exchanges, and leaves windows of opportunity for the right opponent. In Paddy's calculation, that's exactly where his advantage lies. He's setting himself up as the fighter who can exploit that vulnerability, time Gaethje perfectly land the decisive shots and secure a finish instead of letting 3 judges decide his fate. When you ask Paddy about his game plan, his message couldn't be more direct. He's actively hunting for that finish, and he's convinced he possesses exactly what it takes to make it reality.
How do you feel about Jones and DC doing this show together internationally? The reality show?
What are they doing?
They did that like Russian Ultimate Fighter type show against each other, coached against each other.
Huh.
You didn't know about that?
It's out?
I believe it's filmed, but it's not out.
Interesting.
There's a face-off photo already. DC's talking about doing a wrestling match or a boxing match against Jones. Says that they've agreed to a wrestling match. Have you heard of this?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah, this is while you were in Fiji. This was all going down. Craziness.
Michael Chandler breaks down the Gaethje versus Pimblett fight, and he's stating plainly that he views Justin Gaethje as the clear favorite heading into this matchup. Now, Chandler definitely isn't sleeping on Pimblett's abilities at all. He actually gives Paddy serious credit for what he brings to the lightweight picture and recognizes that he represents a legitimate threat to anyone in the division.
Besides Jones and DC, and then we'll take Conor out of the equation because Conor had a couple opponents like Khabib and Nate Diaz where it got real tense. What's the #1 most tense rivalry that comes to mind that you've had to be a part of?
It would absolutely be those two. They fist fought.
Oh, yeah.
In the lobby of the MGM.
Yeah. Is
So
Dave Schaller in the middle of them?
Yeah.
Scholler?
Schaller blew that one. Yeah.
He's an all-time picture of just his panicked face in the middle of the two of them. Yeah. Wasn't going to be able to pull those two guys apart.
The hardest thing is that when you're there, you're not there for a photo op. You're there to make sure these guys don't touch or disrespect.
But even with that acknowledgement, Chandler still considers Gaethje the more well-rounded, complete fighter when you break it all down. The guy with superior tools, more experience in high-pressure situations, and that devastating combination of power and relentless pressure that can completely overwhelm his opponents. This assessment goes beyond just this single fight too. Chandler takes it even further, predicting that Gaethje has everything necessary to defeat Ilia Topuria later this year. And that's an absolutely massive statement when you consider how completely dominant Topuria has looked. That bold prediction really shows just how much faith Chandler has in Gaethje's championship-level capabilities and his belief that Justin is perfectly built for those elite title fight moments. While Chandler clearly respects what Paddy brings to the table, his money is definitely riding on Gaethje when these two warriors finally clash.
I think it'd be great to have Daniel Cormier a part of this show. Obviously, him and I have a rough history. I know he doesn't like me very much. We've beaten him twice, but I think him coming out here to Thailand and filming with me will be a great opportunity for us to mend this jacked up relationship. But I have no problems with him. If anything, him coming out here would give us both an opportunity to maybe start a friendship.
Michael Morales is taking a much more measured strategic approach when discussing his next fight, and he's being clear that several different paths could open up depending on how all the pieces fall into place. He mentions that conversations are already taking place behind closed doors, which always signals that the UFC is actively putting something together for him, but nothing has been finalized or made official yet, so there's still room for things to develop in multiple directions.
In the last few years, we see that MMA fighters are more competing in grappling matches.
Yep.
For you, if there's the right offer, would you like to grapple with somebody?
Grappling? I don't know so much. Wrestling? Yeah, I'll wrestle Jon Jones. Yeah, they can give me and Jon Jones a wrestling match. Whoever wants to pay for that, yeah, tell us. We'll wrestle me and Jon Jones. Freestyle wrestling. Me and Jon Jones, 2-3 minute periods. It won't take that long though.
How do you visualize that matchup?
It would be a wipe.
Morales suggests that a fight with JDM would make perfect sense given where he currently stands in his career trajectory, framing it as an opportunity to continue his development, test himself against quality opposition, and keep building that crucial momentum within the division. But here's what really stands out. He's not boxing himself into just that one possibility. Morales also demonstrates confidence that if the UFC presented him with a bigger challenge, something higher profile against a more highly ranked opponent, he would absolutely step up and embrace that opportunity without hesitation. It's this perfect balance of being realistic about his current position while simultaneously showing he's not intimidated by anyone in the division. That exact mindset is precisely what the UFC scouts for in fighters who are ready to climb those rankings and make serious noise.
This season is against Daniel Cormier. What a stuffy, Cormier really is. I think if you really get to know Daniel Cormier, he's really not. He's an asshole. He was an asshole. I mean, he didn't really connect with any of the fighters here. He's just an asshole. I tried to make peace with him many times, and he made it very clear that he wants to be enemies for the rest of his life because how lucrative it is.
But you guys having fun here.
There was moments where we got to laugh, but for the most part, he's a dickhead. You look at the way that he treats his staff members. He brought like 10 yes men out with him and literally, go get me my water. Where's my this? Why is that this? He just bosses guys around. And the times we weren't filming, he wasn't very sociable with the people on set. He's just a dickhead. I think people that really work with him will know that.
Jon Jones expressed clear, genuine respect when Islam Makhachev entered the conversation, and you could tell this wasn't just polite, obligatory praise from one fighter to another. He placed Islam in this exclusive tier of competitors who truly distinguish themselves from everyone else operating in the sport. We're talking about athletes who aren't just skilled, but function on a completely different plane of excellence.
You guys having fun here.
There was moments where we got to laugh, but for the most part, he's a dickhead. You look at the way that he treats his staff members. He brought like 10 yes men out with him and literally, go get me my water. Where's my this? Why is that this? He just bosses guys around. And the times we weren't filming, he wasn't very sociable with the people on set. He's just a dickhead. I think people that really work with him will know that.
Jones characterized Islam as someone who's naturally built for sustained dominance, and he emphasized that it goes far beyond just technical ability or physical gifts. It's about the complete mental approach, the commanding presence, the way Islam carries himself every single time he steps in competition, like there's this inevitable aura of success surrounding him. From Jones's viewpoint, and remember, this is coming from arguably the greatest fighter who ever lived, Islam's continued rise was never shocking or unexpected. He recognized it early because he identified those rare qualities that only a select handful of fighters ever truly develop. Jones made it clear that witnessing Islam's ongoing ascent is something he genuinely admires and anticipates. When someone like Jon Jones speaks with that level of reverence about another competitor, you know it carries serious weight and meaning.
Let's just say this does happen. What you thinking, Henry? Because I don't think it's what people are, general consensus is thinking. I don't think that's how this goes down.
What do you mean, like as in?
What you thinking? How you thinking?
No, you're telling me you got Jon Jones?
I'm not telling you anything. All I'm saying is, that's the general consensus, and I'm telling you right now, it's not that simple. Because Jon Jones never went to the Division I and had the accolades and all of that, people sleep on just how talented Jon Jones. I believe Jon Jones could have been a multiple-time Division I champion. I believe that. Jon Jones was that good at wrestling. That good. And I've watched Jon Jones decide, I'm gonna wrestle. And when he decided to wrestle, he made people look bad. to where listen, I'm telling you, this man is just freak athletic talent, and the whole family. You know, Jon and Arthur both state champion, New York state champions. You know, I know that's not saying a lot because that's high school, and DC definitely has the international, you know, accolades. But listen, they fought. And yes, I understand that's just fighting, that's MMA, but when it came down to that wrestling exchange, Jon is no slouch. This ain't gonna be just that easy.
Daniel Cormier experiences this incredibly powerful moment of pure pride watching Islam Makhachev accomplish something monumental, becoming a 2-division champion, and finally reaching that milestone that Cormier once considered the missing piece from his own legacy puzzle. This moment carries enormous emotional weight because of their shared history and the incredible journey they've traveled together.
Кормье сказал, что с Джоном Джонсом поборолся бы и, цитирую, надрал бы ему задницу. Как ты думаешь, насколько вот, если эта борцовская схватка произошла бы все-таки, она, возможно, может произойти в Лиге РАФ, Кормье был бы успешен?
Ну, знаете, такое противостояние, где только в борьбе Кормье может потянуть Джон Джонсом, потому что Джон Джонс хорошо борется, но борьба это стихия Кормье, и это парень олимпийского уровня. Это большой уровень.
Cormier remembers this specific conversation when Islam pointed out that he had matched virtually every single one of Cormier's major accomplishments, all those victories, all those achievements, everything except for one crucial thing, simultaneously holding 2 championship belts. That was the sole accomplishment that had stayed just out of Islam's reach until now, and seeing that circle finally complete means everything. For Cormier, this achievement resonates on a deeply personal level that extends far beyond simply watching another fighter reach the top. This represents seeing someone he considers family, someone from his camp, someone he's trained alongside and supported climb even higher than he ever did. There's zero jealousy or resentment there, just pure genuine pride and satisfaction in watching someone you truly care about reach the absolute summit of this sport. Those kinds of moments are incredibly rare in mixed martial arts, and they showcase the special unbreakable bond between Cormier and the entire American Kickboxing Academy family.
But then they're talking this 6-7 title fights. First and foremost, Henry, pardon my French, but who the fuck wants to watch 7 title fights back to back, to 5-round title fights back to back to back? What if the 4 or the 5 or the 6 in a row are boring? I think it's a bad idea. Bad idea, because first of all, we want to see contender fights. We want to see guys who are willing to go risk their lives out there. When you're the champion, your whole goal is to keep that. You want to be smart. You want to be tactical. You want to strategically retain your title. Champions aren't going out there to just go, yeah, we're going to throw caution to the wind and just swing for the fences like we're in a bar fight. That's not what champions do, because that's not what gets you to be a champion. You got to be smarter than everybody else. And listen, so this whole notion of let's put 6 title fights on there, I think that's a bad idea. And honestly, I might be asleep by round 3, by title fight 3.
Dana White is responding to some absolutely massive news that just hit, and this is legitimately huge. The official announcement dropped that Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier will be coaching opposing teams for the Russian season of The Ultimate Fighter, and this development is genuinely enormous for the sport. We're not talking about just any regular coaching matchup here. This is bringing their legendary bitter rivalry into completely uncharted territory, a fresh format where they'll be mentoring the next wave of fighters while standing on completely opposite sides of the gym.
Now he has more confidence, you know, but I think maybe this is a little bit mistake for him too.
A mistake, why?
Because if he tries like more pressure on me, I think I'm knocking him out.
Okay, and that's your prediction for this fight? You feel like you will knock Alex Volkanovski out?
I'm fighting the territory enemy, you know. I need to finish this fight. Like submission, knockout, it's like a complete domination 5 rounds. This is my goal. My goal is like finish him.
Dana presents this as a truly significant moment for mixed martial arts, and he's absolutely right, because you're dealing with 2 of the sport's most recognizable figures, 2 men who share one of the most intensely personal rivalries in all of combat sports history, now coming together in this mentoring role, where all that drama, tension, and competitive fire will be on full display, giving fans a completely new lens through which to view their complicated dynamic. Plus, imagine being one of the fighters selected for that season, getting coached by either Jon Jones Jones or Daniel Cormier during one of the most crucial periods of your entire career. It represents an unbelievable opportunity, and Dana knows this particular season is going to be absolutely must-see television from start to finish.
This time now, I think it's different. Now I have more recurse still for this fight. Now I'm more light, like I don't have the pressure. I think the first time I fight Volk, I only try finishing here with one big punch, no? I forget like many things in this fight.
Okay.
So, and I forget the best thing in my life. Enjoy the moment, you know? Enjoy the moment. If the people see the video before the fight, when I'm entering the octagon, when I'm inside the octagon, I'm so serious.
Yes.
I'm so serious. The people know me, I'm never serious. I mean, every time I smile, every time it's like joking different people. So this time, I just enjoy the moment, you know? I just enjoy the moment. I think it is, when I enjoy the moment, like I'm a more dangerous guy in the division.
Dana White dives deep into the epic history between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier, and he labels their rivalry as the most significant feud of his entire career, which really says something when you consider all the legendary battles he's witnessed over multiple decades. He highlights the sheer intensity between these two men, not just when they stepped into the octagon for those two incredible fights, but outside of it as well, where things became deeply personal in ways that transcended typical fight promotion and marketing. Dana recalls this one specific incident that perfectly illustrates just how explosive and volatile their relationship became. A moment when tensions reached such a boiling point that they ended up in an actual physical altercation right there in the MGM lobby. Picture that scene for a second. Two elite professional fighters, cameras rolling, people everywhere, and they still couldn't contain the pure animosity flowing between them. This wasn't manufactured for publicity. This wasn't scripted for entertainment value. This was genuine raw emotion erupting in the most public setting imaginable. That particular incident perfectly captures just how personal and uncontrollable their relationship had become, and it's a huge part of what made their rivalry so magnetic and compelling for fight fans worldwide. When Dana discusses it, you can hear in his voice that he understands what Jones and Cormier created was truly special, not just in terms of athletic competition, but in terms of authentic, unfiltered hatred that made every single interaction between them feel electrically charged and significant. Jon Jones is going hard at Daniel Cormier, and he's making it abundantly clear that he's genuinely frustrated with how their relationship continues to play out even after all these years. According to Jones, he's made legitimate attempts to move beyond their historic beef. He's put in real effort to release that old animosity and discover some form of peace or mutual professional respect. But every single one of those attempts has led absolutely nowhere. Jones is essentially arguing that Cormier is the one maintaining this tension. Now, not him, and that, despite his genuine desire to close the book on their old rivalry and progress forward, DC keeps feeding the flames and preventing any real resolution. It creates this fascinating dynamic because for years, most people viewed Jones as the primary antagonist in their feud, but now he's positioning himself as the mature party trying to act responsibly and move past old grievances, while Cormier clings to ancient grudges. Whether you buy into that narrative probably depends entirely on which fighter you've supported throughout their entire history, but it's obvious that Jon Jones has grown tired of the constant back and forth drama and wants everyone to understand he's not the one perpetuating it anymore. Recently, Jon Jones offered his perspective on the current state of affairs with Daniel Cormier, and his viewpoint is that the intense rivalry and bad blood between them no longer needs to define who they are as human beings or as professional fighters. He's suggesting that their legendary feud represents something that belongs firmly in the past, not something that should continue influencing their relationship for the rest of their lives. Jones opens up the possibility that working together in a professional capacity like they're about to do, the Ultimate Fighter and spending extended time in the same environment could actually help eliminate some of that old toxic baggage that's been weighing heavily on both men for so many years. He frames this opportunity as a chance for genuine mutual respect to finally develop, maybe even the potential for an actual friendship to emerge where there was once only pure hostility and legitimate hatred. It's a surprisingly mature and evolved perspective from Jones, and it demonstrates a real willingness to grow beyond the person he was during the absolute peak of their bitter rivalry. Daniel Cormier shares a completely opposite perspective, and it's crystal clear he's not prepared to let go of that competitive fire that has always burned between them. Cormier states that he still wants to face off against Jon Jones, but not under MMA rules. He's specifically talking about a pure wrestling competition, and he firmly believes that in that particular setting, the outcome would be heavily stacked in his favor. He draws a sharp distinction between mixed martial arts, grappling, and pure freestyle wrestling, emphasizing that while Jones demonstrates incredible strength and grappling skills within the context of MMA, pure wrestling represents an entirely different battlefield where Cormier holds a massive decisive advantage. He's referencing his Olympic caliber credentials, those years of elite wrestling experience that Jones simply cannot match or replicate. Cormier confidently states that a brief freestyle wrestling match would conclude quickly, and he's absolutely certain he could establish complete control from the opening whistle to the final bell without facing any serious difficulty. It's an incredibly bold statement, but it's also supported by his legitimate wrestling accomplishments, and it proves that even though their MMA rivalry may be finished, Cormier still carries that competitive edge and desperately wants to prove he's superior to Jones in at least one specific arena. Jon Jones responds to DC's wrestling challenge statement, and he absolutely explodes on him, making it crystal clear that he's completely fed up with how this entire situation keeps recycling and playing out over and over again. Jones argues that the ongoing tension between him and Daniel Cormier exists not because of any lack of effort on his part, and he's genuinely tired of people assuming he's the one keeping their rivalry artificially alive. He claims he has made multiple sincere attempts to move past their complicated history to discover some form of peace or mutual respect, but every single time he extends that olive branch, those efforts go absolutely nowhere and accomplish nothing. In Jones's perspective, Cormier has zero interest in letting their feud die. He actively wants the rivalry to continue indefinitely, and that's exactly what prevents this whole toxic situation from ever reaching any kind of real resolution. Jones characterizes the situation as something that has evolved far beyond simple athletic competition at this point. It's become a personal canyon that DC has no motivation to bridge or close. For Jones, this represents a source of constant frustration because he views himself as the mature party attempting to move forward constructively, while Cormier keeps dragging them both back into the exact same tired drama and conflict. Whether you believe Jones's version of events probably depends entirely on your perspective regarding their complete shared history, but it's undeniable that he's finished trying to make peace if the other side refuses to meet him halfway and participate in good faith. Jon Jones also reflected on his experience working directly alongside Daniel Cormier, and he makes it abundantly clear that the entire situation never felt natural or comfortable behind the scenes, even when they were supposed to maintain professional courtesy and behavior. He suggests that whatever brief light-hearted moments or civil interactions occurred during their time working together were completely overshadowed by underlying tension and hostility that never disappeared or lessened. Jones describes a working environment where Cormier kept exclusively to his own inner circle, remained with his own people, and conducted himself in a manner that irritated not just Jones but other people around them as well. This wasn't simply about their personal history and past conflicts either. Jones is stating that DC's general attitude and behavior during their professional interactions created this persistently uncomfortable atmosphere that made it impossible for anyone to believe they could ever genuinely move past their deep-rooted issues and find common ground. Jones frames the entire experience as something that confirmed and reinforced their long-standing friction rather than providing any opportunity to heal or improve it, making it perfectly clear that spending extended time together accomplished nothing positive and only served to remind Jones exactly why their rivalry became so intensely personal and bitter in the first place. Daniel Cormier reveals something absolutely wild, that he and Jon Jones actually seriously discussed facing each other in a professional boxing match at one point, which perfectly illustrates the competitive drive and need to compete that has always defined their entire complicated relationship. He explains that while their personal differences remain completely intact and probably always will, that desire to test themselves against one another as pure fighters has always been absolutely undeniable regardless of how much they genuinely dislike each other as human beings. For Cormier, that competitive fire, that burning need to prove who's truly better, represents what makes their rivalry so unique and compelling to fight fans worldwide. He discusses how they've debated fighting in various different formats, boxing, wrestling, you name it, and the concept that generated the most attention and excitement from fans was definitely the wrestling match. Cormier emphasizes that regardless of the personal animosity, regardless of the fact that they'll never see eye to eye or get along as people, there's this deep underlying respect for Jones's fighting ability, and with that respect comes an intense burning desire to compete and settle things once and for all. He describes it as almost a gift having someone with that elite level of skill who also possesses that same competitive need, that same relentless drive to prove they're the absolute best. Cormier admits that feeling still lives with him today, meaning that even now, years after their final fight, if something developed that put them on opposite sides again, that competitive instinct would come roaring back to life immediately. Kamaru Usman jumps into this conversation with a really crucial perspective that many people might completely overlook or dismiss. He believes it's far too easy to underestimate Jon Jones when it comes to pure wrestling, simply because Jones didn't follow the traditional Division I wrestling path that so many other fighters traveled. But Usman quickly points out that the kind of raw talent Jones possesses cannot be ignored or dismissed regardless of his non-traditional background. He builds the case that when Jones decides to wrestle, when he fully commits to taking someone down and controlling them on the ground, he absolutely dominates opponents, making even top-tier grapplers look completely off balance and outmatched. Usman is emphasizing that Jones has this rare ability to impose his will in grappling exchanges, despite lacking that traditional wrestling pedigree, which speaks volumes about his incredible natural athleticism and fight intelligence. Here's the key point Usman drives home. Any potential matchup with Daniel Cormier in a wrestling-only format wouldn't be simple or straightforward or automatic. On the mat, Jones represents a serious, legitimate threat, and it's far from the guaranteed victory for Cormier that some people might assume. Usman is basically warning everyone not to sleep on Jones just because he didn't wrestle in college, because when everything is on the line, the man is an elite grappler who can compete with absolutely anyone at the highest level. Islam Makhachev provides a different perspective, and he believes that Daniel Cormier could realistically challenge and potentially defeat Jon Jones if they competed in a wrestling-only match under pure wrestling rules and regulations. Islam explains that while Jones is undeniably an incredible athlete with amazing diverse skills, pure wrestling represents a completely different game that highlights Cormier's Olympic-level abilities in ways that mixed martial arts doesn't always fully showcase or utilize. He's emphasizing that in a wrestling match without strikes, without submission attempts, just takedowns and positional control, Cormier's technical wrestling background and experience provides him with a genuine significant advantage over Jones. Islam frames it as a specific setting where the matchup becomes much more competitive than it would be under standard MMA rules, and possibly even tilted in Cormier's favor, because you're isolating the one particular discipline where DC has spent his entire life excelling and perfecting his craft. It's a fascinating perspective from someone like Islam, who comes from an incredibly elite wrestling background himself, and it demonstrates that even though Jones is extraordinarily skilled and talented, there are specific scenarios and rule sets where Cormier's specialized expertise could really shine through and give him the edge he needs to win. Kamaru Usman weighs in on the discussions about potentially having 7 or 8 title fights at the UFC White House card, and his reaction is pretty hilarious, but also makes an excellent point about event planning and fan experience. Usman thinks that cramming 7 championship fights into one single event is honestly a recipe for complete disaster, and he doesn't hold back, explaining exactly why this would be problematic. He jokes that watching that many 5-round battles back-to-back would be absolutely exhausting, not just for the fighters competing, but for the fans trying to stay engaged throughout the entire event. Usman admits that he would probably be fast asleep by the 3rd fight, which perfectly captures just how overwhelming and excessive that kind of card would become in practice. Think about the reality here. Title fights are long, they're emotionally intense, they're mentally draining to watch, and stringing 7 of them together in one night represents pure overkill. That would hurt the overall experience. Usman makes it clear that while the concept sounds absolutely incredible on paper in actual practice, it would be far too much, and the later fights would probably suffer significantly because everyone involved, fighters, fans, commentators, would be completely exhausted and burned out. Sometimes more definitely isn't better, and Usman recognizes this as one of those cases where the UFC might be going completely overboard with their ambitions. Ilia Topuria is establishing a very clear mindset for his rematch with Alexander Volkanovski, and he's making it crystal clear that he has zero intention of leaving this outcome in the hands of the judges. Topuria states that his plan, his goal, his entire mental approach heading into this fight centers around securing a decisive finish, and he's specifically talking about ending it via knockout or submission. This rematch is scheduled to happen in Volkanovski's home country, which adds another intense layer to the entire situation, fighting on enemy territory where the crowd will be completely against him, and the pressure will be absolutely enormous. But Topuria isn't intimidated or fazed by that hostile environment. In fact, he's embracing it completely, saying he wants to leave absolutely zero doubt about the final outcome. He has no interest in a close decision victory that people can argue about and debate afterward. He wants to finish Volkanovski in such a definitive manner that it makes an undeniable statement and proves beyond question that he belongs at the very top of the featherweight division. Ilia Topuria takes time to honestly reflect on his first fight with Alexander Volkanovski, and he's being completely candid about his mental state and approach during that initial encounter. He admits that he became far too obsessed with landing one perfect knockout punch, like he was actively hunting for that single magical shot that would end everything immediately, and in doing so, he completely lost sight of what actually makes him most dangerous and effective as a complete fighter. Topuria explains that by fixating entirely on the knockout, he forgot about the most crucial aspect of his fighting style, which is staying relaxed, enjoying the moment, and allowing his natural skills to flow organically without forcing anything. He describes how when he's in that optimal zone, when he's not overthinking every movement and just fighting on pure instinct, that's precisely when he becomes the most dangerous and unpredictable fighter in the entire octagon. It represents a valuable, hard-learned lesson from their first encounter, and it sounds like he's approaching the rematch with a completely transformed mindset, one that's more relaxed, more confident, and more focused on being his authentic self rather than trying to force something artificial that isn't naturally there. Ilia Topuria took absolutely zero chances when preparing for his highly anticipated rematch with Alexander Volkanovski, and he went to extraordinary lengths to ensure his training camp would be absolutely perfect this time around. He actually established a completely private gym exclusively for himself and his team, which demonstrates the incredible level of commitment and focus he's bringing to this crucial fight. Topuria is remarkably honest about what went wrong during their first encounter, admitting that his ego interfered significantly during that initial fight and that he arrogantly thought he didn't need to address or fix anything in his training approach. But after the fight concluded and he had sufficient time to analyze everything objectively, he identified numerous problems that existed in his training camp, weaknesses that he had failed to address properly, distractions that pulled his focus away from what mattered most, and multiple areas where he could have been much better prepared both physically and mentally. So he made a conscious, deliberate decision to create a completely focused, distraction-free environment, eliminating every possible interference and sharpening every single aspect of his comprehensive game plan. Ilia Topuria said, and this is his exact quote, "I had ego. When I fought Volk in April, I thought I didn't need to fix anything in my training, but after the fight I saw many things weren't good in my training camp. I got a private gym for only me and my team to avoid distraction." That kind of brutal self-awareness and willingness to completely adapt and evolve is exactly what separates good fighters from truly great champions, and it proves that Topuria is entering this rematch with a completely different level of preparation, maturity, and professional dedication. That wraps up everything we have from today's video, and we really hope you enjoyed diving deep into all this incredible mixed martial arts drama and analysis with us. Drop your thoughts in the comments section below because we want to hear who you think wins these fights, whether you're Team Jones or Team Cormier, and what you think about all these callouts and bold predictions. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel for more amazing MMA content, because we have so much more incredible material coming your way that you absolutely won't want to miss.